Was it a good outcome or not? Let's think about this. So already Hamas has called for peace in Gaza. I think Trump has allegedly already spoken to Netanyahu out of Israel saying, hey, stop fucking around. Let's end this war. He has planned or has already called Putin, and Putin has already agreed to figure out pathways to end the, quote, war in Ukraine. People buy on emotion and justify their purchase through logic. It's the same thing for votes. People justify their votes through emotion and then go through logic. Okay, it's for the economy, it's for this, for that, for the other, and then place their vote. But if there's no authenticity, you don't even get to that emotion connection in the first place. So you gotta be authentic. If you're gonna pitch something, you have to tailor your message to your audience, which means you gotta know your audience. So if you're going on a sales pitch, you're going on a job interview, you're going on in the boardroom, you're trying to pitch a deal, maybe you're trying to save your job. Say, why should we keep you? You gotta know the audience to tailor the message to them. Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the End-to-End Podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Young Nguyen, affectionately called Ninja or Prolific Ninja by my family and friends and on my socials, personal socials. But because my fans are my friends too, you can call me Ninja as well. This is the End-to-End Podcast, the Alpha to the Omega, the beginning to the end, talking about life, motivation, drive, success, self-improvement, and offering you morsels in this all-you-can-eat buffet called life. You know, before we get into the show, I've run with that opening for so long, but at the same time, I want to add in the connecting the dots for you, for your success. Part of that. Let me know what you think about that. But anyway, back in the studio, happy to be here. As we're recording this, we're 2 days post-election. So by the time you hear this next Thursday, will be a week or so, just over a week after the election. But before we get into the meat of the episode today, I want to start the episode as I start all my days, which is when I wake up in the morning, open my eyes, I give thanks to God, the universe, for giving me another opportunity to hopefully be great and inspire somebody to live to their fullest controllable potential today. Just one person is all it takes. But in that case, if you're new to the show, you know, our mission of the End-to-End Podcast over the last now almost 3 years, coming next March, so 2.5 years, is to inspire billions of lives across the planet for people to live to their fullest controllable potential. And why is that? Because not everything is in our control. The elections was just an example of that. But despite all that, we have to live to our fullest potential. So that's what the show is all about. Every morning, give thanks. And with that, before I start this episode, I want to start it like on my day, which is giving thanks to you all of our followers, people that comment, like, follow, share, especially our content. Thank you all, because I do this show on my own dime, on my own time. So pay for it out of pocket, have a full team, production crew, studio I got to help rent out for, through what I pay. So with that, the only way we have grown our show and the only way we can continue to grow the show is if you share the show. So we do this on a value exchange. If you learn something, found something humorous, sounds some type of value, 0.00001% value, or you feel this is something that this episode or any other episode is good for somebody else, please do share the show. That is how we grow. You all have been great. We're, approaching 60, 70,000 followers across all platforms, which I am so, so thankful and grateful for. It motivates me to continue to bring you this free content. So I like to say, if you're knowledgeable, share the show. That's how we grow. But secondly, you can also support the show by supporting the work that I do outside of the show, which is, if you don't know, physician, lawyer, entrepreneur, have a law firm that we've been helping thousands of people for the last 20-something years, with millions of dollars in settlements. Right now, we are working on a cancer campaign, trying to help as many people with cancer as possible go against companies that have put what we call PFAS, P-F-A-S, RFK Jr., if you're out there, PFAS, the forever chemical. They've put it in the water. People are drinking the water, and it's doubling the risk of cancer. So we're helping cancer individuals and families go potentially get money, settlement dollars after these companies that we know put PFAS in the water. So if you know anybody with cancer, please send them our way. Send them through the podcast socials, DM us, or go to PFAS Lawyer on X, DM us there, or go to pfasinjuryattorney.com. Send us the info, and we will reach out and see if whoever has been affected by cancer is eligible to recover in this litigation. So please support the show. Go to cureconnector.com. It's another platform I've developed with my wife. And also check out Legacy X Token as well. That's a crypto-based utility token tied to putting real-world estates on the blockchain. So check that out as well. So back to the episode. I know it's a long introduction, but there's a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. Listen, I'm wearing red today. For those of y'all just listening, Republicans won. There was a red wave, but I also have a heart on it. So it's not Valentine's Day, obviously, because this is November. But the idea here behind what I'm wearing is that it's time for unity for the country, right? This is a business motivational success, podcast. It's not a political one. So I want to tie a little bit of what happened in the election to actual business principles that you can carry forward for success, right? Because this was a hotly contested election. So wearing red wave, if you've been listening to the show, I gave you the reasons why I was, or you could surmise the reasons why I voted for Trump. Hopefully we don't lose followers for that. But in any case, I voted for what I thought was best for me personally, for my family, for my parents, my friends, my workers. Personally, is what I voted for, not any on type of ideologue or any type of race or sex or gender. It was from a very practical matter, which candidate had policies that would best help me personally. And so that's why I went for Trump. But in any case, what can we take away? What are the takeaways? I mean, it's only been 48 hours after the election now on recording this. So, let's, was it a good outcome or not? Let's think about this. So already Hamas has called for peace in Gaza. I think Trump has allegedly already spoken to Netanyahu out of Israel saying, hey, stop fucking around. Let's end this war. He has planned or has already called Putin, and Putin has already agreed to figure out pathways to end the, quote, war in Ukraine. The leader of China, Xi Jinping, has already announced publicly that he's looking forward to, quote, peaceful relations with the U.S. It's kind of odd because they are our biggest competitor on a global scale. Allegedly 70 world leaders have already had phone calls with Trump asking for peace, offering support. Bitcoin is up to 75,000. It jumped overnight. RFK is already talking about how he's going to, close departments in the FDA and the CDC and all that to minimize, all the shenanigans going on in those agencies. Trump has already announced, an agenda against child, underage, minority, sex transitions. He's already appointed the first ever female chief of staff for his White House. I think her name is Susan Wiles, the first ever in the history of the United States, the first ever female chief of staff. A whole host of other things going on. So, was it a good outcome for the country? 48 hours, it looks like it. So hopefully it trends that way. But, the reality is he's not the president yet. JD Vance is not the VP yet. You got to get to, get into office January 2025. So there's still a long way to go. And I'll talk about that at the end of this episode. But so tying this all into business principles, what really worked for the Republicans or conversely worked against the Democrats in the election, right? And what factors influenced it? Well, I think the first factor, and this is a business principle, is Elon Musk buying Twitter, X, and making it practically fully transparent, meaning anybody could post anything on there as long as it wasn't, deemed offensive or like a threat to anybody else. He opened the spigots. So anybody could post anything, right? That allowed people to see through what propaganda or framing of issues that the legacy media was doing relative to what the reality of the situation was, whatever the issue was. So on the one hand, legacy media kept touting Trump was a racist. On the other hand, I see Black people, Hispanic people, Muslim people, Asian people, all hugging and supporting Trump. So on the one hand, without X and back in 2020, Twitter was throttling all of that, meaning not posting, allowing those to be posted. Elon buys Twitter, opens it up, and now those things are being posted. So people, the public, could see the dichotomy of what the legacy media was pushing versus what the reality was in real life. So the citizen journalist or the citizen observationist now had a platform to really propagate what the reality was. And so as that progressed through early 2024, and then Elon got involved and all that, got on the Trump train, people could discern what was actually the truth. And so I think over time, the legacy media, the credibility was already degraded a lot, but it accelerated in its degradation relative to independent journalism or independent media. And so you had the whole Joe Rogan podcast on X, where he interviews Donald Trump, where he interviews JD Vance, where he interviews Elon Musk, the surprise one on election day. So all that was now available instantaneously. And the other thing is, with that transparency, people could see what was happening in real time, where their election machines went down, or the CPU, the memory cards were the wrong ones, or where officers were closing polling stations at 2 p.m. versus leaving them open till 10 p.m. All of this was real time, versus in the past, we would have waited for legacy media to report it. And if they even decided to report it, and so we would not be able to the public could not get their information quickly. So how does that all wrap into business? Simply stated, transparency to your customer is best. Transparency to your customer is best. And why is that? Because if you're not transparent and you try to wiggle your way through an issue, as soon as they find out, your customer or your client base or whoever your audience is, as soon as they figure out that you've been withholding or not being fully forthright, or saying the wrong thing, basically gaslighting or telling lies, you lose instant credibility. You lose credibility right away. So on your pathway to success, whoever you're talking to, try to be transparent as necessary. Okay, that doesn't mean disclose everything. That means if there's an issue, if there's a question, be open about it, right? Be open about it. And that ties me to the second point. People mistakenly believe, I have a red heart on my shirt, a black heart on my red shirt. People think that humans vibrate at its highest frequency. And if you listen to this show, I'm a whole frequency guy. Energy controls the universe. If you're new to the show, now you know energy controls the universe. So people mistakenly believe that love is the highest resonating frequency. And most people would, that would have been my guess before I knew the real answer. So things like hate, fear, loathing, all those negative vibrations actually vibrate at a very low frequency. Positive emotions resonate at a high frequency. And that's why, when you walk into a room where it's a negative vibe, it's usually around hate, fear, you just feel it. You're like, damn, the vibe is real low here. But when you walk into a festive room, the vibe is real high because there's a lot of joy, love, that kind of this high. But the highest resonating frequency actually is what? Authenticity. Authenticity. When you're authentic, when you communicate your true self and you're the most authentic, that vibe is the highest resonating frequency. That's why really successful people, very authentic. Look at Elon Musk. He speaks from what he believes, right? And so when you compare the two campaigns, in retrospect, which campaign was most authentic feeling? Okay, which one? You have Trump's campaign, or the Republican campaign, where he's bringing everyday common people, moms of daughters that have been murdered by, these migrant immigrants. He's bringing normal, regular people into the rallies to talk. He's bringing normal everyday business people, people that have experience, knowledgeable, real world life experience of building and rebuilding and failure and rebuilding and all these things, bringing those people to the table, right? Versus the Kamala's campaign, where it was Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B and Beyonce. People don't relate to that. It's just, hey, you're trying to sell me on celebrity, which is not as authentic as, man, I can really relate to that person who's on stage right now. The message was more authentic on the Republican side this time around than on the Democrat side. The Democrat side was, I'm going to bring celebrities, and Trump, everybody who believes in Trump is a racist. It does no good when you're calling people that you're trying to get their vote names, right? Those people that are in the middle, right? Do they relate to being called a racist and Meg Thee Stallion? Or do they relate to the everyday common person who's struggling with high groceries and high fuel prices and having a hard time paying rent? Which do they relate more to? The billionaire on this side? And although Elon Musk is a billionaire, his message was very authentic in terms of cutting, any fish $2 trillion out of government waste. That's an authentic message, right? So between the two, authenticity reigns true. So how does that relate to business? Whatever you do, be authentic. People can smell a scam very easily these days. So if people get a sense of inauthenticity, you will lose. You will lose. I'll give you an example. On this PFAS campaign, the reason, I hesitate to say this because I don't want to jinx it, but the reason we've been very successful is my message of just raising awareness instead of hire me, I'm the best lawyer on the planet. It's just, I just want to raise awareness around this issue. If you want to hire me, great. If not, it's okay. There's plenty of other lawyers you can hire. But the reason we're successful in getting clients is because the message is authentic. There's a connection of emotion, right? Emotion to the message. And when there's an emotion connection to the message, listen, I heard this guy, I wish I could remember his name. And I apologize, but I was in a luncheon in a Chamber of Commerce meeting. The guest speaker was a professional sales trainer. And he says, it was sales, obviously. He said, people don't buy on logic and then feel good about their purchase. People buy on emotion and justify their purchase through logic. It's the same thing for votes. People justify their votes through emotion and then go through logic. Okay, it's for the economy, it's for this, for that, for the other, and then place their vote. But if there's no authenticity, you don't even get to that emotion connection in the first place. So you got to be authentic, okay? This probably be a continuation episode because there's so many things to unwrap. But the third, there's two more points, and I got 10 of them. So there's only two more points I want to discuss today. The second one is correlated to authenticity, which is the Republicans knew the audience better than the Democrats this time around. The Republicans knew a vast majority of the country was struggling economically, jobs, credit card, debt, whatever, you name it. And so they tailored their message to that audience. Hey, vote for us. We're going to make the economy better. We're going to bring down debt. We're going to do all these things. Hopefully they do. But they knew their audience better to connect with them versus the Democrat, which is Trump's a racist, Trump's a Marxist, democracy is going to end. And by the way, here's a celebrity performer that is a billionaire or millionaire. Vote for us. They didn't know their audience. They did not know the audience. I mean, obviously, there are some people that bought to that message, but that audience was not the bulk of America, the everyday person. So, again, if you're going to pitch something, You have to tailor your message to your audience, which means you got to know your audience. So if you're going on a sales pitch, you're going on a job interview, you're going on, in the boardroom, you're trying to pitch a deal. Maybe you're trying to save your job. Say, why should we keep you? You got to know the audience to tailor the message to them. Okay. Is who you're talking to, what side do they lean on politically? Right? I can't go to these small towns as a lawyer trying to help them on their cancer issues with PFAS in the water, dressed up as the big city slicker lawyer. That's not knowing my audience. These are rural, everyday people. So what do? I come in jeans, wear boots, don't even wear a jacket. I just wear like a golf shirt because that's what they're used to. That's what they understand as knowing the audience. The pitch doesn't change, but that's part of it. You got to know who you're pitching to in order to close the deal. And so in this deal, the election, the Republicans had a better sense of who they were pitching to. Okay, so knowing your audience. And then the last one for now, regardless of whose sides you're on, right? The election's over. Okay. You see on the Republican side, there's a lot of celebration, rightfully so. But on the Democrat side, unfortunately, there are a lot of memes out there, TikTok videos of like women shaving their head, people, getting ready to move to Australia or whatever, like just things going kind of nutso, like what the hell, so. There's this thing called the 4B movement, and I guess for women that are like now going to remain celibate for 4 years or whatever. I have no idea. But in any case, election's over. Nothing you can do about it, right? The key now is how adaptable are you to events that now are unchangeable? Okay? You can throw temper tantrums or you can just move forward. Okay, which one is best facilitating success, personal progress, getting to your goals? This isn't a feel-good podcast. It's a podcast about getting to your goals, living to your fullest controllable potential. So, a very, very critical trait to learn, understand, and infuse into your body well-being subconscious is you got to learn to be adaptable. Failure is coming. Multiple failures, big time failures. We had on the podcast John Ray a couple episodes ago, success is just the overcoming of multiple failures. Right? So, I'm paraphrasing that, but the idea here is that if the outcome of the election wasn't your way, nothing, what can you do about it? Self-mutilation is not the way. Screaming on TikTok about how distraught you are is not the way. It's accepting what it is and finding a way forward. It's understanding what went wrong, changing it so it goes your way in the future. That, my friends, is actually how it works. So you must be adaptable. You must understand how to overcome massive setbacks. If you're in the Democratic side, this is a massive setback because you lost the House, the Senate, the office, the White House, and I think most of the gubernatorial state races. It was a massive defeat, but you got to learn to adapt to move forward. Okay, take it on the chin and move forward. So the last thing. So those are 4 main principles in business. There's tons more, which I'll probably talk about it more. What was it? Transparency, authenticity, understanding your audience, and adaptability. Okay. I want to give a huge shout out to certain demographics that pushed this red wave. Surprisingly, the Native American vote went very, very red. The Latin vote, La Raza, went very, very red, more than historically. The black male vote, red, more than historically. And most importantly, and most proudly for me, Generation X. Generation X was the main generational demographic that voted red. And I had to think about this. Why did Generation X basically push this through? Generation X, and that's me. I think it's like 1979 to 81 or something like that, if you were born in that time. Because Generation X was the one that basically raised ourselves. Our parents were working 2 or 3 jobs. They say, fuck it. You're 5 years old. You're good enough to take care of yourself. And so I remember growing up with, I would wake up. My parents were off to work. I think I was like 6 years old. There's a Hungry Man TV dinner on the counter. Good luck. Had to learn how to operate the oven myself. Had to learn how to cook my own egg. Like, go out, play. Don't come home until late, on bikes, riding around neighborhoods, all that, drinking from water, the hose, all that stuff. Generation X was the first most independent generation of kids growing up. So what does that mean for 2 things? One, we don't like being told what to do because we're already self-reliant. 2 is we have better survival instincts. And when you're out there kind of raising yourself, figuring out, okay, can I go down the street or do I need to go down this way? Can I, go into this store or do I got to just, you learn out of that whole survival mentality, you learn to pick up bullshit real quick. You learn that you're getting gaslighted real quick, right? Which side was gaslighting more, right? Which side was being more intrusive, telling you what to do versus, hey, be free, do what you do, don't hurt anybody. It correlated more to Gen X, right? Having that survivalist instinct, that whole independent thinking, don't tell me what to do, I already know what's best for myself because I raised myself. That mentality, more libertarian than anything, but resonated closer to the Republican side than the Democratic message. So Gen X that's why I believe Gen X pushed this through. Very proud of that. So last thing I got to say, Trump is not in office yet. Okay. Before in this podcast, I predicted that, or I didn't predict. I stated that even if he wins, he has to make it to January, and that in this interim period, there would be a lot of chaos. I still believe that. Why? Because it seems that the Democratic side is being too nice. Trump, you won. Let's call for unity. Hey, we're not going to mess around. Peaceful transition. This, that, and the other. Okay? Keep in mind, this was a campaign where the entire campaign, they're calling him a communist, the end of democracy, the end of women's rights, you're Hitler, 2 assassination attempts. Like, you don't flip that quick. You don't just, hey, man, I'm going to, I compare it to like if you're in a boxing match or like some type of sport, males, real males, not a male participating in a female sport, which allegedly is going to be banned. But like, let's say 2 guys in a boxing match, and in the entire match, one guy is just punching the other dude in the nuts the entire time, biting him, scratching him, like, well, not in gloves, but like biting him, just cheap shots all the way through the match. And then at the end, the guy that's getting hit in the balls all the time wins the fight. And then the guy that's been cheating the whole time says, hey, man, great fight. Let's be friends again. You see that and how that doesn't make sense? So he's got to make it to January. The administration's got to make it to January. So that's now 2.5 months of time where there could be mass chaos. You don't fight this hard and just walk away. Hey, good job, man. Peace. That doesn't work in this high level of politics. Now you throw in the X factors of the Epstein list and the Diddy list and who's on there. If you know you're on that list, are you going to just say, hey, man, good. We're good. I'll see you in January. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. In my mind, there are certain scenarios that could happen. I'm not going to say it publicly, but I'm still prepped for potential chaos. I'm still prepped for potential chaos. And in my view, what's going to happen, and I could be totally wrong. I've been known to be wrong. This is all speculative. is even if it gets to January, the economy is not as stable as it would appear, despite the run up in a lot of assets. It's not as stable as it would appear. So there may be whether intentional or not, there may be a catastrophic financial event while Trump is in office so that they can blame it on him. So chaos coming still. People don't roll over this easy. People natural instincts, initially at least, is to hold grudges. And so to get your ass beat and then all of a sudden say, hey, man, it's good. I've been cheating this whole time. I've been punching you the balls, but it's good. Forgive me. That doesn't work. Doesn't compute with me. So anyway, hopefully you learned something about the election and how this can apply actually to business, why the Republicans won from a pure business translational sense, why they won in a landslide in this situation. So if you've learned something in the show, as I talked at the beginning, if you learned something in the show, felt value, hopefully you have, please do share the show. That's how we grow. If you're knowledgeable, share the show. That is how we grow. Go to PFASinjuryAttorney.com, PFAS Lawyer on X. Please do send your cancer affected families and individuals my way. Shout out to Romero. Last night we celebrated. It's a 7-year-old kid who just beat brain cancer. 2-year battle. To Balu, his family, your family, man. Shout out to you all. We rang the bell last night. It was a great celebration. But please do send your people to PFAS Lawyer on X. DM us. We want to help as many cancer affected families as possible. Be great today, but be even more grateful. I'm going to close the show as I close my day before my head hits the pillow and close my eyes. I thank God and the universe for another day to have hopefully inspired somebody to live to their fullest controllable potential. With that, I'm grateful for you all. Look forward to coming to you again next week very, very soon.